Can the Minnesota Golden Gophers compete for the college football playoff? Can they win 10 games or 9? Or in losing their quarterback Max Brosmer, losing some players in the offensive line, and star defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman being poached by Miami, is regression inevitable? Minnesota is one of these teams where off an 8-5, 5-4 campaign and winning the Duke's Mayo Bowl and having some close losses to Penn State, to Michigan, having some close clutch wins against USC, for example, last year, where I think a lot of people in Minnesota feel like this team can really take a huge step forward, be a much better team in 2025 than they were in 2024. So I want to explore that and give you my record prediction for Minnesota this year. Let's first take a look at their schedule before getting to the roster, because the roster, it's a PJ Fleck Minnesota roster. It's not going to be the most talented in the world, but it will be well developed and well coached. So their schedule is as follows. Week 1, play Buffalo. Week 2, they play Northwestern State. Week 3, they play at California. Week 4, they get a bye. Off their bye in Week 5, they host Rutgers. Then they play at Ohio State Week 6, host Purdue Week 7, host Nebraska Week 8, play at Iowa Week 9, host Michigan State in Week 10, get a bye Week 11. Week 12, they play at Oregon. 13, they play at Northwestern. And Week 14, they host Wisconsin. It's a schedule that, per FPI, is 26th. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. It's one of the tougher schedules in the nation, but not the toughest. And outside of Ohio State on the road and Oregon on the road, I think that they can win those 10 games. They won't beat Oregon or Ohio State. I'll tell you that much. They're not going to beat either of those teams. But never say never. Never say never. And in their other 10 games, I think they will be a touchdown underdog at the worst, and in many cases, a touchdown or even double-digit favorite. So their over-under win total is at 6.5. Plus 1,300 to reach the playoffs, plus 12,000 to win the Big Ten. I love parts of their roster, mainly the running back room and the defense, if I'm going to be honest here. I'm not going to tell you that I love much else with this team, but I have Darius Taylor and A.J. Turner on not just my all Big Ten team, but I actually have both of them on my All-American teams at running back. I think that Minnesota will field one of the best running back rooms in America this year. I have Ashton Beers and Greg Johnson on the interior O-line on my honorable mention all Big Ten teams. Same with Javon Tracy and Logan Loya for Minnesota at wide receiver and Jamison Gears at tight end. I have Mo Omonode, D tackle on my all Big Ten team. Same with Jalen Logan Redding and Devin Eastern. Anthony Smith, I have at edge for my all Big Ten team. Same with Maverick Baranowski at linebacker, Coy Perich and Aiden Gooseby at safety, and Zaquan Bryan at corner. This is a loaded defense, and an offense that if their offensive line gets some things right and either overperforms or they find a way to, scheme these guys and, use them to the best of their ability, this is a team that could have a lethal rushing attack along with a solid defense. And that's really been the formula in the Big Ten, not just in the Big Ten, but even winning it all these past few years. Ohio State somewhat broke that trend offensively, being much better at passing than running, but defensively they didn't break the trend at all. And then, Michigan, one year they won it all, and Georgia the 2 years before that, they had some explosive passing, but they were more, game control and playing elite defense than they were specifically airing it out. Not that Minnesota will win it all, but they could go 10-2. I think more realistically, their record's going to be capped at 8-4 because Ohio State and Oregon, both on the road, will be much tougher games than Penn State at home and probably Michigan on the road or USC at home were the two toughest games for Minnesota last year. So they have more games that are guaranteed losses this year than last year, though hindsight, of course, helps with that. So I think their realistic ceiling's 8-4, but if everything goes right, I could see 10-2, and with this schedule, 10-2 could get them in the playoffs. I think worst case 5-7, and I think that's realistic. They bring back 52% of their production, 78th in America, and their S&P Plus rating preseason is a 6, which is 40th. It means Bill Connolly thinks that they are only 6 points better than the average college football team. Drake Lindsay at quarterback is going to be someone to follow, for sure. And he has good enough receivers, halfbacks, tight ends, and potentially a good enough offensive line to where if he plays to his ranking and how much the staff, praises him and the fan base praises him, then Minnesota can certainly be a dangerous team. I'm more in line with thinking this team stays about the same as last year, and maybe with the quarterback change, the coordinator change, the loss of a awesome tackle like Ariante Arce last season, that this team will stay the same or could regress. I think that 6-6, 3-6, 12th in the Big Ten is what they're going to finish this coming year. So they'll once again go to a bowl game, probably win it given it's PJ Fleck. But there are a lot of teams on this schedule that could be better than them. So let's look at this schedule and the teams who could be better than Minnesota. We have Rutgers in week 5. I would have said Cal, but then Cal lost everyone in the spring portal, so I'm not going to say California. Rutgers could be better. Ohio State will be better. Nebraska could be better. Iowa could be better. Michigan State could be better. Oregon could be better. Wisconsin could be better. That's where the 5-7 comes from, because I don't think Minnesota, they could lose to a random team that they shouldn't, but that will probably be to one of the teams who's better than them, and probably a game at home, let's say. So Nebraska, Michigan State, or Wisconsin, or Rutgers, they might lose one of those games where by spread and maybe by how we initially viewed those teams, they shouldn't have lost. For example, the Purdue game in 2022, but then at the end of the year, you think, okay, yeah, that loss made sense. That's where the 5-7 comes from. I don't think that Minnesota will lose to Buffalo or Northwestern State, obviously. Probably won't lose to Cal or Purdue. Every other game is either a likely win to a guaranteed loss on the spectrum. So that is where I got 6-6, 3-6. The defense will be mean. Where I have questions is the scoring offense. I think they'll be able to run the ball pretty well, but they're replacing a kicker. Kesich is gone, and Kesich was pretty reliable. And the guy they brought in, Brady Denenberg, isn't as good based on what I've seen, what I've read, the stats I have observed, the film. So I think that they'll be able to move the ball in between the 20s at points, but even that will be a struggle depending on how Lindsay does. And then in the red zone, what's going to happen if the run gets taken away? What's going to happen when you play a good defense, or a defense that may not even be as fundamentally sound as yours, but is more talented than your offense? What's going to happen? And then I just with the special teams likely regressing and the fact that there's quarterback questions, I'm uncomfortable picking them to win more than 6 games at this point. Some specific predictions I have for Minnesota are that this team will improve in terms of running the ball, where they were just a little bit weaker than anticipated from my perspective last year, and it will be at a good pace with Darius Taylor and A.J. Turner. I think that they will have success on the ground. The Golden Gophers will take a step back. That's my medium prediction as a unit, just due to staff changes and lost production. My hot take, going up the Scoville scale here, Minnesota's defense finishes the season around a top 15 level of play, averaging points per game and efficiency. I don't think Danny Collins in year 1 is going to suffer a massive drop-off. Probably a little drop-off, but not much. Minnesota returns Perich, their most talented player on that side of the ball. They made great portal additions there and brought back key starters. I think it'll be top 15, at least, in points per game and efficiency, averaging that. In my Scorchin prediction, I think Coy Perich will be used as a two-way player. and he'll excel on both sides of the football. So he's been getting some snaps on offense, learning the offensive playbook. He said that he wants to do well there, and that's been his dream, to play both sides of the ball on offense and on defense. Obviously, he'll be better on defense, but I think to myself that they could use him on offense. And if he's healthy, if he has the stamina, why not? I think that the offense really could use some depth and X-factor play. I think the defense already has that with Perich, and I think even without it, because the defense has a lot of age. They even have some size to them. I think they're well coached there, better coached than on offense. I think they're going to use Perich on offense. My Hellfire prediction is that Fleck's squad fails to beat one team with a record above 500. That is my Hellfire prediction. And I do think that to a certain degree, Fleck will enter 2026 under pressure. To a certain degree. Now, last year, 8-5 with that team, I think was good. I think that was a good performance. It was better than I expected. For the first time in a while, I traditionally overrated PJ Fleck teams. For the first time in a while, they went over my preseason record prediction. I predicted them, I think, to go 7-6 last year, which is kind of what I'm predicting them to go this year. And instead, they went 8-5. And I hope Minnesota proves me wrong. I hope they do better than I expect. It's fun to see one of those Big Ten West teams punch above their weight class and do super well. But I think there are limitations to this team, and the schedule is tougher than you might think, because I have a Minnesota fan who's told me over and over again, Sam, don't buy in on Nebraska. They never get up. They're always overhyped. Well, they reached a bowl game for the first time in a while last year, and signs point to them improving, so they could be better. Minnesota struggles to beat Iowa. Like, Iowa owns PJ Fleck. They do, and they have to play him on the road, and Iowa's not going to overlook Minnesota there. It's a rivalry game. Michigan State has more proven QB play, and their staff is proven, based on what Rossi did at Minnesota a few years ago and what Smith and his offensive staff did at Oregon State, they're proven to be physical. So they could be better than Minnesota. We know Ohio State and Oregon will be. Wisconsin could be. I mean, Wisconsin made wonderful moves in the portal, and they've been recruiting well, and I think Fickell's a good coach. I think even Minnesota fans would say that Fickell is a good coach. So there's just a lot that could go wrong for Minnesota, more than I think what could go right. I still think that this roster's good. The team is probably an above-average Power 4 team, and I think that Fleck's a good coach. I could see them punching above their weight class and being a top 25 team, or at least ranked there, or even in the power ratings. They were nearly top 25 in power ratings last year with how competitively they played Penn State, USC, Michigan, for example, and how they beat Illinois on the road. You get my opinion there, and then also how they crushed Wisconsin at the end of the year. All that stuff benefited Minnesota in power ratings. Wouldn't shock me if they were a better team. I think that they will regress a little bit due to some reasons I already explained, mainly loss of production at quarterback, the offensive line, the changing at defensive coordinator, and I think Heatherman was very good. It's unfortunate Minnesota lost him, and also the special teams. Those are reasons why I think Minnesota will take a step back, but they'll still go to a bowl game due to a solid defense, and I could see them, because of players like Coy Perich, because of their defensive line, and a player like Darius Taylor, I could see them proving me wrong. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, joined the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.